Yeah.
Medically assisted suicide has been as divisive as topics like capital punishment or abortion. Therefore, there is already an abundant amount of research on this topic that I have in turn researched myself for this speech. Achieving mainstream notoriety and interest in the late 20th century, physician-assisted suicide has been debated in our court system and amongst the general public to determine if and or how this practice can continue. Physician-assisted suicide began a legal, ethical, and moral debate in the late 1900s. Although there has been controversy around the subject, it has been used as relief for those with terminal illnesses. However, people are trying to prevent the palliative care system from losing its dignity or quality. Physician-assisted suicide gained popularity in the late 1980s and into the early 1990s. With this came many controversial viewpoints from our government officials, medical professionals, and the general public. Assisted suicide was first brought to attention when Dr. Kevorkian performed the first recorded medically assisted suicide, according to Ray Gonzalez and Physician-Assisted Suicide. After the suicide had taken place, there was a 60 Minutes episode aired about authorities trying to prosecute Dr. Kevorkian, but Dr. Kevorkian was willing to be prosecuted in the hopes that a legal debate would begin resulting in legalization of medically assisted suicide. When considering this topic on a personal level, for example, a terminally ill family member who has been suffering for quite some time, one could better understand why someone would want to end their pain in a humane, safe way. When voters were asked to consider legalizing assisted suicide, the majority sided against the initiative due to fear of losing effectiveness in palliative care, along with obvious ethical dilemmas. Even after all the ethical and religious debates, at the end of the day, this could legally still be considered murder. According to Ray Gonzalez and Physician-Assisted Suicide, Michigan state prosecutors are charging him with homicide, premeditated murder, and assisting in a suicide. In Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio, assisting suicide is considered murder. This evidence proves that doctors could be charged with premeditated murder for assisting in suicide. Despite all of the controversies and debates around the pros and cons of legally assisted suicide, majority of the lawsuits or prosecutions have resulted in favor of making assisted suicide legal. Many lawsuits have been created to prosecute not only the legality of assisted suicide, but also the physicians participating in them. Most of these lawsuits in favor of keeping some of the loopholes to make sure it stays legal. According to Ray Gonzalez and Physician-Assisted Suicide, a grand jury refused to indict him, while the New York Board for Professional Medical Conduct did not condone physician-assisted suicide. It concluded in this particular case that the actions were legal and ethically appropriate. The evidence proves that regardless of arguments from both sides, we have found loopholes in the law to make assisted suicide ethical and legal in these circumstances. This particular topic is especially close to me because I have recently witnessed a very close family member go through a terminal illness due to Parkinson's disease. While there was never actually a discussion about assisted suicide in our family, I can see why someone might consider this option after pain and suffering got to a certain point. While assisted suicide is not at the forefront of our nation's media interest today, the debate is far from over and still haven't resolved the legalities or regulations surrounding the issue.